I am conditioned. All I need is to be able to wake up. I take care of the rest. Some of y'all that way too. Some of y'all done been through some things. Love that about life. God is still God. At the end of the day, God is still God. Folks, my name is Odis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm what you would call a long-term hold investor. I spent the better part of 20 years in the multifamily commercial industry. So that was my corporate job. I was overseeing $650 million in multifamily commercial real estate. Now it's probably valued at about 800 million because we know how multifamily commercial is valued. I'm a real estate broker licensed in California. I am not in production, meaning I'm not acting as a real estate broker. I'm not out there showing homes and doing all of the real estate broker stuff. I'm also a licensed real estate broker in the state of Georgia. I am the founder of the only real estate investing training platform that is going to stay with you until you decide you don't need us anymore. Yes, I know what you're thinking. That is very expensive for us. So I better turn you into a real estate investor sooner rather than later. I've been fortunate enough to come across some really cool people, really good human beings in our real estate program. Some have been rocking with me for, 4 years. I think we started about 4 years ago, 4 Data Points Academy. On paper, we started about 2.5. We were under the company James Street Capital, which is my investment company. And then we had to branch off because we got too big too fast. We don't advertise. It's just word of mouth. So people share their experiences and other people want to sign up. If you go to Google and look at our reviews, you got a whole bunch of 5-star reviews. We do just about everything, right? Just about everything. We do residential, we do multifamily commercial and everything in between. People sign on with us. They typically, if they're beginners, they typically aren't well versed in the real estate investing space. And we've had some people get up to, I think our top person is at 30 doors right now, and they're talking about getting vertically integrated. And, now they're shifting over to the entrepreneurial side of real estate investing, which is really, really cool. And we're going to coach them through that too. So when we say we're going to take you to the promised land, we take you to the promised land. I spent 13 years as a mortgage broker, so I'm well versed in mortgage finance. I was a notary public. I had a national notary signing agency a couple decades ago. I ran a real estate brokerage with my father, right? My father is Odis Douglas James Jr., hailing from San Francisco, California. We moved down to San Jose in the 70s. He's been a licensed professional since 1971. And so we come from a real estate family. My uncles and sisters and dad and everybody's a real estate professional. Some are trying to retire, but that's what it is. And just about everything else having to do with real estate, we've done in some way, shape, or form. On the entrepreneurial side, I took $585 one day, came home, created a company that went on to generate 7 figures, which is not that impressive, right? $1 million is it sounds like a lot when you're on the haven't made it yet side of it, but it's really not. I didn't get to keep it all. I use an outsourcing business model, but I only worked on that business about 3 hours a month. I just found people that were already doing a thing. I marketed myself to do that thing. I leveraged my relationships. And every time I got an order, I just called the people that are already doing it to go fill it and mark the price up 40%. So on the entrepreneurial side, I've got some traction there. What else? It's a bunch of stuff, folks. I won't say I do it all, but I do quite a bit. 4 Data Points Academy was birthed out of necessity. Most of you know the story. I was on one of these platforms one day and heard people talking about real estate. And because of my experience, is that Michelle? Michelle? Because of my experience, Michelle, you should come over to TikTok. We could use the extra, the extra person. Because of my experience, I can tell when people are blowing smoke. Most people don't realize I was also in ministry for 3 years, from 2008 to 2011. That's probably the thing that had the biggest impact on my ability to navigate this space now. The mechanics of real estate is easy. I can teach that to anyone, but it was that 3 years of growth and going through that journey that transitioned me into the person you see before you, or in some cases here before you. I quit uh, on a Saturday in 2011 because I realized I had some spiritual growing to do, and I'm not a hypocrite. So I shut down our ministry nonprofit on the spot, let admin go, and said, Lord, I'll see you in maybe another 15 years, maybe another 20 years. 4 Data Points Academy, we represent just about everybody, every aspect of real estate. We are branching into other areas because I understand that real estate is great. At the end of the day, folks, it's a job. I know it's glamorized and sensationalized and all that, but it's just a job. It's not something that is going to save me. It's just a means to an end. All right. So when I'm training people on how to be real estate investors, I don't just train them on the mechanics of investing in real estate. And by the way, folks, there are multiple ways to invest in real estate. If I ask the average person to name them, they'll typically say they can probably name about 5, 6, or 7, right? Flipping homes, long-term home investing, buying and selling notes, multifamily commercial. There is probably about 25 core ways. And if you had to dissect every possible way to invest in real estate, they're probably going to be about 70. I counted 78 last time that I looked. And I got to be prepared to service everybody's needs, regardless of how they are investing in real estate. The reason why other companies don't do that is because it is insanely expensive to allocate time and resources to someone in perpetuity without having them continue to pay, which is why a lot of these other programs you'll see they want $25,000 a year, $35,000 a year. And I developed this program with some close associates because I wanted to bring this to the average person. And I really wanted to bring it to those communities that were disenfranchised so that they could gentrify their own communities, being strategic and bringing in third-party funds to be able to do that. You guys know that you've heard me teach about how to pay for something out of your exit strategy so you don't need the capital up front. And if people in the community have a pre-existing relationship with each other, then there's really nothing that they can't accomplish. And they could be full participants in the gentrification of their own neighborhoods. But I guarantee you the neighborhood will be gentrified. Gentrification, it's progress. It's just a matter of who benefits from it that people seem to have an issue with. So today, I want to talk about really anything real estate related, but I want to talk about transitioning from a 9 to 5 to real estate investing. Right now, I'm going back and forth, and I've got I got Facebook up here, I've got Instagram up here, I got TikTok up here. So if you guys are looking at my face and you see my face looking like I can't focus on the camera, that is because I am going screen to screen and looking for, questions and all these other things. So extend me some grace. That being said, you guys are more than welcome to come up on stage on Clubhouse, even if you're not going to ask a question. So I don't have to pull you up. If you think you may have a question, feel free to go ahead and come up on stage. Also, feel free to share the room. I promise I won't embarrass you. Right? My mom used to, that's what, you know what our moms used to say when we went into the grocery store. Hey, when we get up in here, don't embarrass me. So I promise I'll extend you guys the same courtesy. All right. Where to start? It's a lot of real estate talk, folks. I've been doing this for a very long time. If you guys get an opportunity to come to one of our live events, we do not have any scheduled at the moment, but be on the lookout. A lot of you guys are already in our database. We'll typically hit the same cities. We are going, we'll typically do Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Charlotte, DC, Philadelphia. We're on the fence. I don't know if I'm ever go back there, but it's a possibility. New York, Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, LA, Long Beach, Oakland, Houston, Dallas. I'm sorry. You guys get the gist of it. All right. Let me see. Yes, we are. Yes, we are, Mike. Yes, we are. We will be coming to your city pretty soon. Are you coming to? No, we're not going to be coming to the smaller cities. Yeah, it's probably going to be the major metro areas. So if you guys are in our database, I'll let everybody know. We usually take 30 people. We'll do a workshop. We'll get in town. I'll typically get in town Thursday night. Friday night, we'll do a meet and greet that evening. Saturday, we'll have the workshop. And then Saturday night, I'll typically have all the VIPs up to my suite, and I'll have someone local come in, cater it, food and drinks, and then we'll have a good time. And you guys that are in our real estate family, you guys can just come. I think that's a good opportunity for folks to meet people that are already in our real estate family. And then Sunday we'll play it by ear, and depending on where we are, we may go out to brunch or something like that. So it is community. We are, okay. All right. Let me put this on Do Not Disturb. Folks, I'm a real estate investor first, by the way. You know what they say, those who can't do teach. I want to make sure that never applies to me. We have groups that I put together. If I see an opportunity for people in our real estate family that, maybe they don't have enough capital to do anything at the moment, what I've been doing is I've been putting, maybe 6, 7, 8 of them together, and then we'll just go flip something for educational purposes. They'll get paid out, and I think that'll be some good experience. So I've got that going on right now. So I'm getting all the updates. Normally, you guys see me on these platforms with a few other gentlemen. Let me see. I'm at my 9 to 5, so maybe slow to engage. Man, he is handy. All right, we're gonna get you out of that 9 to 5. All right. As a matter of fact, let me just jump into it. I left my corporate job in 2021. Was it? I think 2021. And the reason I left, I wouldn't have left. I actually really enjoyed it. I like multifamily commercial. I like developing people in the corporate environment. I like switching back to, the corporate environment and entrepreneurship. And I've been an entrepreneur for years. And I was I made my first $1 million while I was in corporate. And I just couldn't tell anybody because they treat you different when they know you don't need to be there. Right. It's just not different, like in a negative way. It just, little things can come up. Right. I was taking on so much more than the average person could take on, and so much more than the corporate mind could wrap itself around, that anything that didn't go right, if they know I made $1 million somewhere else, they would automatically assume, oh, well, your focus is on that other thing and not where it's supposed to be. And I performed at a high level in the corporate environment. I got awards in almost every position that I was in. The developments that I was responsible got awards. The people that I trained got awards. And I was mentoring people as a real estate investor. I was a licensed real estate professional. At that time, I was, I don't know if I had gone to consult internationally yet at time, but I was able to do it all. And fortunately for me in the multifamily commercial industry, once you get up to the corporate level, you can work from home and there's a bit more flexibility. So I was doing it all because there's 168 hours in a week. I gave them 45, slept 42. The rest, I could do whatever I wanted. Right. And I was also doing the entrepreneur thing, non-real estate related entrepreneur thing. So you guys can do it all. And there's a way to do it all in the corporate environment. So when I was putting this program together, I have a training background. So when I was putting this program together, one of the first processes that I wanted to put together was, how do people invest if they're working a 9 to 5 job? They got kids, all right? They've got to survive. They've got to live their lives. So how do they invest 2,500 miles away and still be able to do that? So that was actually that was the second process that I put together. The first one was the 4 data points. Most of you guys have heard me say what the 4 data points is. 4 data points came about really because I wanted to protect people that didn't want to sign up for my program. And what I mean by that is I would go to a lot of these events, and I'll go over the 4 data points in a second. Folks, you got folks on TikTok, that meetodis.com is all my personal contact information. If you need to text me, that number above my head, you can text, and I'll try to get back to you. But you guys, some of you guys have seen me speak at some of these real estate conferences, and I would always get invited all over the country to speak at these conferences. Though only half the time they paid for my flight, but it's all good. No one's bitter. We're not petty, right? So I would get invited to speak at these conferences, and people would really be interested in real estate. And I didn't know that I didn't know that people enjoyed it that much at all. I just thought, because I'm so used to it, I didn't realize that there was a demand for real estate education. And I didn't want to interact with somebody, because some of these people I was interacting with, well, let me put it in perspective for you guys. A lot of people that want to get into real estate investing want an improvement for their quality of life. And some people are of a certain age where they can't do all that risky stuff. And everybody, let me not say everybody, because that's I haven't met everybody in the world that's involved in the real estate education space. But most of what I'm seeing is everybody has an agenda. Everybody has an agenda. So, any useful information that you can get, you're required to pay for. And the average person can't pay for all of this information all of the time. All right. So I said, okay, well, at least let me put something together that I can keep on me, that I can give to somebody so they can protect themselves against all of these unscrupulous investors and everybody that's more interested in swiping your credit card. And so I put the 4 data points lesson together, which is 4 questions we have to ask every time we're considering subject property. And then in that same lesson, I teach people how to interpret those answers to be able to determine whether or not this particular property is going to be in your buy box. And I just planned to give it away. I didn't plan to train anybody. I wasn't doing anything, but I said, at least I can give them this. And so I would start giving that out. And then the demand just started growing. People were really interested in this stuff. So I felt a responsibility to organize the information in a way that the average person can receive it. Everybody can remember 4 questions. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? So that guide was free. So everybody that's in my database, if you get emails from me on occasion or text messages, you got that guide, because I ended up putting it as a funnel so that I could tell people about our events and all of the things that we had going on. Because one, we didn't have a what do you call it? I didn't have an agenda. I wasn't trying to, get rich doing this. And I was at a point in my life where I wasn't chasing money like that. Like money didn't do it for me. It didn't bring me fulfillment. So when we created this program, it was investor focused and it wasn't money focused. As a matter of fact, what's up, James? As a matter of fact, go ahead and come up, James. Uh, as a matter of fact, the first, some of the first conversations that I had when we started out was, how little can we charge without it impacting my quality of life? Because I didn't want my quality of life to go down, but I was already pretty comfortable, right? I got my house here in the Bay Area. At this time, I'm bringing in, $80,000, $90,000 a month in some cases. And my corporate job was only about $15,000 a month, about $15,000 a month. So I wasn't trying to, I didn't have to swipe people's credit card. And a lot of people that I was in front of looked like me, right? And let's be honest, we haven't been treated the best in this world in the last, so-and-so, but we have a choice, right? We can change that and we can do better. And if I can contribute to us doing better, then let's go ahead and do that. So all of this is, there's a method to all of the madness. And then it evolved into what we have now, because anytime that I found that there was a gap that needed to be filled with respect to the knowledge that people need to be successful real estate investors, I would just create it. And, a lot of our struggles were internal, right? We started growing faster than I had anticipated. And that's a lot of pressure, right? So in 2021, I think it was about, I didn't plan on leaving my corporate job. I was just going to continue doing all this. And what happened was, somebody that I reported to, I didn't like the way they were spoken to, right? And I was really, this is a really good person. And as soon as they said, they were putting in their 2 weeks, I was like, well, look, I'm out too then. All right. So fortunately for me, the transition was easy, because it wasn't much of a transition. I was already doing both. So how does somebody that needs that job for survival, how do they transition into real estate investing? And that's what I want to talk about today. How do we transition? And then we can get into any other topics. All right. Now, if you guys have a question, just go ahead and ask the question. If the question is off topic, that is perfectly fine. I can answer your question, get back on topic. The goal is to get some knowledge. And again, those that know me know I teach. So we're not just here, shucking and jiving, baby. All right. All right. Crack myself up. I do. I really do. All right. So what's the thought process behind leaving your 9-to-5 job and going to jump into real estate investing? And I'm going to share my experience, which I've already done a little bit, but I'm also going to share a lot of the conversations that I've had with people that are looking to get in real estate investing. First thing I do is manage people's expectations. Right? Real estate investing is it's not a get rich quick. And what you guys are victims of, whether you know it or not, is victims of marketing, right? Because they sell you a dream, right? They sell you a dream knowing the likelihood of everybody achieving that dream is possible, but it's not likely, right? So that's something that we have to be realistic about. And that's how I have to manage people's expectations. All right. Now, some of you know that we teach multifamily commercial investing, apartment buildings investing. All right. Now, the real estate investing education world will tell you just jump into apartment buildings. And if you've got the resources to do that, yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's a good idea. And some of these billionaires that say that, some of you have heard me go back and forth with them with that exact disagreement. So do what you can where you are with what you have. That's all. That's always going to be at the forefront of what we do and what I tell people. Do what you can where you are with what you have. So if someone is thinking about transitioning, I say, okay, well, look, the first thing we do is figure out how much money you need to make to survive. Okay. That's how we start the conversation. And then I teach them the timeline and the difference between active and the passive income. And I'm going to give you guys an example. Let's say you need to make $10,000 a month. All right. That's how much you need $10,000 a month to maintain your quality of life. And let's say, cause you're making that at your corporate job, doesn't matter, 10,000, let's do $5,000 a month. Let's not assume everybody's making 10,000. Y'all got to forgive me. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. So everything is so expensive out here that they pay people a little bit more. I used to get people coming out from the Midwest to, they're making $12 an hour where they lived. And then they move all the way out here to make $30 an hour and then realize they got to make $50 an hour to afford an apartment out here. All right. So we have those conversations. So I say, all right, how much money do you need to make right off the bat? Let's say it's 5,000. Okay. And then I give them this example. I say, all right, now when you're starting out, you may not have a lot of capital and you're not a seasoned investor. So you're not doing all the creative stuff and you're not, doing all the creative financing and you're not doing all the paying out of your exit strategy and all that stuff. You haven't learned that yet. All right. So you got to, again, do what you can where you are with what you have. So I say, okay, let's look at the timeline. How long does it take to invest in a piece of real estate? And I always use the same 4 examples to illustrate what it is that I'm trying to say. Let's do the $30,000 house example. Okay. Now this is the 4 data points. Remember, 4 data points, 4 questions we ask to determine whether a piece of real estate is in our buy box. And we're going to simplify it down to a $30,000 house. Now there still are some areas where you can buy some beat up houses for $30,000, but just because a house is cheap doesn't mean it's a good investment. We learn that later. Okay. But just for sake of this conversation, $30,000, that's data point number 1. What does it cost? Data point number 2, what does it cost to fix up? We're going to say another $30,000. Okay. So $30,000 to buy it, $30,000 to fix it up. Now we've already done our due diligence in this neighborhood. So we already know that similar houses in better shape are selling for $100,000. That's data point number 3. We always start with data point number 3, by the way. All right. And we'll assume that if we decide to keep the house, it'll rent out for $1,000 a month. Boom. All right. Now, this is the Burr method. The Burr method does not always work. It doesn't work in high cost areas. It doesn't work when interest rates go too high because the cost of money is too expensive. The Burr method is not something you should build your business around, but when it works, it works. Okay. It's up to me to teach you when it works, where it works, when it doesn't work, and why it doesn't work. Okay. So 4 data points. We find a beat up house for $30,000, and with $30,000 worth of work, we can make it worth $100,000. And if we keep it, that $100,000 house will rent out for $1,000 a month. Now, let's talk about a timeline. Okay. And we're going to assume we're not paying cash. Okay. We're going to finance this. Now, yes, I know now these hard money lenders are shifting away from. Kim, did anybody tell you on Clubhouse, I keep looking at your picture, Kim, on Clubhouse, and you resemble Monique, the comedian, a little bit. I keep looking over there like, is that? Okay. All right. I'm sorry. All right. We're back in the timeline. All right. What does it cost? $30,000. What does it cost to fix up? $30,000. What's it going to be worth when I'm done? $100,000. It'll run out for $1,000 a month. Let's assume we're going to be financing it. It's going to take you 30 days to close. All right. So we're 30 days. Okay. Now, hard money lenders will pay for the rehab. Okay. So let's assume we use a hard money lender. They pay for the purchase and the rehab. You'll probably have to come in with a few grand on the purchase. Again, they're no longer, there's not a lot of them doing this low of a loan amount, but it doesn't matter. Just, it does. We're going concept here, not actual. So I think there's like 2 lenders that'll still lend this low of a loan amount, but we know we're all in 60, right? 30 for the purchase, 30 for the rehab. It took us 30 days to close. Okay. Now we're starting the rehab. Let's say the rehab takes us, we're going to say 8 weeks. So I'm going to say 60 days. I could probably get it done in less than that, but it is what it is, folks. All right. So now you're at 90 days. But now when it's closed, you decide you want to keep it. So we want to keep it. The property is now worth $100,000. That hard money that we got in the beginning to buy it and rehab it is expensive money. That's not designed to go long term. So we've got 2 exit strategies. We can keep it or sell it. If we keep it, we got to get some permanent financing. If we sell it, we just sell it. But we're going to keep it, right? Because we talk about generational wealth, and we can't achieve generational wealth if we keep selling everything. And if we do sell something, it should be to scale up to a higher cash flowing asset. Amen. Amen. All right. So 30 to close, 30 to rehab. I'll say 2 weeks to get a tenant in there. All right. And we help, by the way, we help with this whole process. 2 weeks to get a tenant in there. Okay. Now that you got a tenant in there, you need 1 month on record for the most part of rent coming in. That's another 30 days. And now you can refinance. That's another 45 days to refi. Okay. All right. I'll say 30 days for rental income. Okay. So now you refinance. Now let's tally this up. I am at 30 days to close, 60 days to rehab, 15 days to get it leased, 30 days to have, a tenant in there and have it, record, right? That first rental payment, record. I say 45 to rehab. I'm going to say, or to refi, I'm going to say 30. All right. So that is 30, 60, 90, right? We're already in 3 months, 60. Now we're in 5 months, 15 days. We're in 5.5 months. Let's say 6 months. We'll be extremely conservative. 6 months to do that deal. Okay. Now let's go back and do the math. How much money did we make out of that? So we're all in 60, 30 for the purchase, 30 for the rehab. And I'm not going to count points and fees, folks. I'm not going to count closing costs and all that other stuff. We're just talking about the concept here. If you want to get more granular, we can do that too. So you're all in 60, 30 for the purchase, 30 for the rehab. You made it worth 100. We know that we can get our property financed at 80%, which means 80% of the value, we can get a mortgage for that. Okay. What's 80% of 100,000? Well, it's 80 grand. They're going to pay off all the existing debt associated with that property, assuming that there's a lien on the property for that debt. Well, we're all in 60 and we got to get the money that we put in back out. So that's a difference of $20,000. So we get $20,000 out of the refinance, and now we're left with an $80,000 mortgage. That $80,000 mortgage probably run you about $800 a month, depending on the interest rate. It makes $1,000 a month. So you're cash flowing $200 a month. Now, $200 a month isn't life changing, right? As a matter of fact, one water heater, you're one water heater break away from being in the negative. But it's $200 a month, and you made $20,000 on the cash out refinance. The $20,000 is active because you had to actively rehab this property and exit and all of that, right? So the $20,000 is active, and the $200 a month. Well, technically, the first $200 is considered is active, but we're going to say that's all passive because that's in perpetuity, right? Minus all of the ups and downs of being a landlord and holding a tenancy. So $200 a month, and you made $20,000 a month off the deal. Okay. Now, look at how much time it took you to do that. Your first one, you always got to be really conservative, right? As far as time and budget and all those other things. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. So when I'm talking to somebody that wants to leave their job and they need to make $5,000 a month, and they need it to be passive. I always ask, do you want it to be active or do you want it to be passive? Right? Mailbox money. They always say passive. Now, I just realized I'm using the phone that I use for my calculator. I'm using it for for TikTok. So all right, somebody, let me see who's Jeremiah. Are you come up here, Jeremiah? Somebody on TikTok, raise your hand so you can come up here with me. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. I got another phone here. I got the Samsung. I never use that. No shade to you Samsung owners. All right. So let's see. Where's the calculator on the Samsung? I swear it's like using a fax machine. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember the fax machine? All right. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out how many months or how many deals it's going to take me to get to $5,000 passively. It's either just $5,000. If we do identical deals divided by 200, 25 deals. Well, that one deal took 6 months. So 25 deals, how long do you think that's going to take? Now, I know that's not realistic, right? But I'm talking about, I just want people to see the scope with respect to what all is involved and the timeline that's associated with it. Now, let's go back. I understand that people are not going to be doing the same deal 25 times. You'll probably do about 3 or 4 flips and you'll call me like most of my students do. Like, look, man, these rehabs are wearing me out. And then we'll start investing in different ways. But I manage expectations because if somebody needs to make $5,000 a month, they got to know what they're getting into. Now, that doesn't include, right, 25 deals. That's just to build up $5,000 passively. Now, you made some money. If you're making $20,000 a deal, that's $500,000 that you made actively. So, so I'm using this just for an example, but $500,000 over the course of that time, you would reinvest. And so it would go a lot faster. It's not going to go, 12, 13 years, right? Especially with mentoring, you'll be light speed ahead of everything else. But I use that example to explain to people what it actually takes to get into real estate investing and what the timelines look like when you're first starting out. Okay. You may not get your first deal for 6 months. If you have the capital, right? Let's say you have a 401k that you've built up or a self-directed IRA or money that you can use or borrow, then you get your first deal the day after we meet, right? We have deals that we give to people in certain aspects of our program. But that's the conversation that needs to be had because most people, when they talk about quitting their job, they don't have realistic expectations. On average, when I say, all right, well, how much do you need to make to be able to, sustain your quality of life or improve your quality of life to a point where it's comfortable for you? Most of what I'm getting is, between $20,000 and $30,000 a month. Okay, that's reasonable, right? But that you're not going to do that in the first year, which is why we don't have an end date. I know you're not going to do that in the first year. So why would I sell you something knowing you can't meet your financial objective in the first year? And then, you're out of the program and then it's like, hey, go be great. In my opinion, you just wasted that money. You could have kept that money and went on a vacation or did something else, right? So when transitioning from a job, we want to transition from the job when it costs us too much money to be there. I'll say that again. We want to transition from our job when it costs us too much money to be there. All right. Which is what I ended up doing. Okay. So since we don't want to leave our job until it costs us too much money to be there, well, how do we invest if we're at a job all day? So I'm going to go through that process. How do you invest if you're at a job all day? So I'm going to take you through a flip, typical flip. And when I say flip, I mean flip, long-term hold. It's still the same process up until you exit, right? If you sell it, it's a flip. If you keep it and refinance, it's a long-term hold. So I'm going to share the process and what I teach the folks in our real estate family. Now, while we're managing expectations, folks, every deal, you're not going to hit every deal out of the park. All right. You will lose money on some deals. You'll make money on some deals. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control that it is what it is. All right. And I know this because I invest all over the country. In the last 7 deals that I did, I never even saw the property before I bought it. So I'm well versed in putting systems and processes in place so that I can do this from a distance. I have one property that I sold, I think in January, maybe. Oh no, I didn't. I sold it December. December. Dang, has it been that long already? December 2024. I had that property for 5 years. What's up, Trey? I had that property for 5 years. I never saw it in person, ever, not one time. Bought it, rehabbed it, had a tenant in there, had a management company managing it. And then when we sold it, as far as I'm concerned, that property could have just been a picture somebody sent me. But the rent checks was coming. So that's what I teach people when they're at a 9-to-5 job. I teach them how to do that before they exit. You guys also have to understand, I don't have the luxury of making promises that I can't deliver on, because the one thing about having a real estate investing training program that doesn't have an end date, if you mess up, if you make a promise, you promise somebody the world, you can't deliver, you got to look that person in the face. Meech, I have a 401k from an old job. Can I flip it to a self-directed IRA and invest? Yes, Meech. Yes, you can. But talk to me before you do that. That number above my head, send me your information. We can have a conversation. Assume it's completely dumbfounded. Should I buy your classes before purchasing? I don't do classes. I do mentorship, which is a long-term professional relationship. We have all of our classes are live. So just go to my YouTube page. You can get you could get all the information you need from our YouTube page. And if you just want classes, folks, don't take any classes about real estate anywhere. Go to our YouTube page. All the information you're going to pay for in a class is on there for free. So just go to it. Folks, I'm not really big on the information. I'm big on the support and the practical application of that information. All right. You got people out there charging $10,000 for stuff you could have Googled, right? And also our classes, our lessons are beginner lessons, intermediate, and advanced. And because people are with us long-term, some of the lessons that you utilize as a beginner, you're not going to be utilizing, as advanced, you're not going to utilize as a beginner, because the plan is for you to be with me a long time. Whatever you're charging, 6K. Yeah, whatever. Oh, the mentorship program. So just go to 4datapoints.com. You'll see exactly what it is you're going to get. We're very transparent in all of our pricing, and we underpromise and overdeliver. So we call it a real estate family because we do things for I do things for people that I wouldn't normally do in the course of business. And I'm talking about, sometimes I have to get involved in certain transactions to take care of my real estate family. All right. So, all right, where was I? See, I'm trying to, I think I'm better than I am at multitasking. I'm probably not really that good at it. So basically I got to teach people how to be able to invest from a distance without physically having to be there. So I'm going to take you on that journey. I'm asking, should I sign up for that before I purchase? So there's, if you purchase it, there's nothing to sign up for before you purchase, Trey. And I'm hoping I'm understanding the question. I don't mean to be any type of way, but there's nothing to sign up for. A lot of the information that you get from our YouTube page and my social media is free. You don't have to pay for it. So if you just want to further your education a little bit, or maybe learn a thing here and there, there's nothing to sign up for. You can get that for free. If you want professional mentorship, that means me holding your hand through the process. And every time you need support until now to the end of time, as long as we exist, you want somebody to be able to walk you through these things, then you would sign up for mentorship. But if you don't plan to be an active real estate investor and you just want to further your knowledge, I probably wouldn't sign up for our program, because that would be overkill. You could just get, you could just get the free stuff. All right. So let's go through good questions though, brother. I appreciate you asking. Let's go through a scenario where I need to invest across the country and I work a full-time job. I don't like that there's no background music. All right. Okay, I guess I'll use this same piece of paper. All right, so first of all, how do we find it? How do we find the property? Well, there's a lesson I have called Finding Off-Market Deals, and there's a bunch of different ways to find it. I won't make that lesson right now. We can get into that a little later on. It's 7:51 California time right now. I think I'm gonna rock out for about another hour. So there's a way to, there's a way to find off market deals. You should ultimately have a system in place so you can find these off market deals and create lists and have a marketing plan and all that stuff. Or you can just utilize wholesalers. And if you find a good wholesaler, there could be some value there. Wholesalers will typically have these deals, but I caution you, just like I caution my students, just because a wholesaler sends you a deal doesn't mean it's a good one. I've always got about 20 deals in my inbox, and 18 or 19 of them are trash, typically. So you've got to understand how to evaluate a deal so you don't get taken advantage of. How do we evaluate it? We look at it, we answer 4 questions. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? Let's say, for the sake of this conversation, somebody sent us a deal. I'm in California and Georgia, and it passed muster, right? So we ran the 4 data points. It's a good look. Let's imagine I work a full-time job though. I work from 9 to 5. Is that normal hours? 9 to 5? For me, it was 9 to 6. But let's say 9 to 5. What I'm asking is, assume I'm completely dumbfounded to real estate investing. Oh, Trey, the less you know, the better. We take people from zero knowledge, brother. You don't even have to know what a house is. I teach people the same way I want to be taught. I'll teach you a concept, and if I got to teach you the same concept, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, but 10 times, I'm going to teach it to you 10 times. Because when I'm learning something outside of real estate, you may have to teach it to me 7 or 8 times. And then, even if you're not comfortable enough to do it on your own, I'm going to hold your hand in the real world, and we can learn, and I'll be there to make sure that you don't go off rails. All right? And on the 10th time I got to teach you, I'm going to teach you with the same enthusiasm I had the first time, brother. So yeah, I got you. Trey, you better look at our reviews and talk to our people, man. You know, we take care of people. No one's in our real estate family trying to figure out what to do next, ever. That's one of our rules. All right. Okay. So we got a deal. We found it with a wholesaler. Looks good. Let's say it's in, I don't know, Georgia somewhere. Okay. First thing we do, run the 4 data points. It passed muster. Now, I work a full-time job. I got weekends off. So everybody that works a full-time job has a day off. Okay. So you can plan to go there at some point. Okay. Now, the first thing we have to consider is who's going to be my eyes and ears, right? You're going to be working with contractors. You're going to be working with, can you bring me up? Yep. Come on up, Trey. You're going to be working with contractors. Let me take care of Trey's question first while I got him here. And then we're going to jump into, I'm going to continue. So let's extend.
Hello.
What's up, Trey?
How you doing?
What's going on, sir?
Okay, I'm making it. So now let me make this make sense.
Hmm.
I'm saying that I'm completely dumbfounded about real estate, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm saying, is it a better choice for me to invest in your mentorship before I begin investing in real estate?
Absolutely. I'm biased
Okay, now
too.
that's what I was asking about.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't realize, I didn't understand the question. The reason why I say invest in your
I
real
mean,
estate.
yeah, I know bits and pieces about real estate, but I'm not just no expert.
Yeah. The reason why I say, and this goes for everybody, the reason why I say invest in your real estate education is because if you don't know, if you're not a seasoned real estate investor, and let's say you got $10,000 or $15,000 that you saved up, you deploy that capital, you're done. You may be able to find a deal, and it may not even be a bad deal. You may be able to make some money, but you're done. If I got $10,000 or $15,000, I'm not going to purchase a piece of real estate. I may put that in a system that I've built where I can generate as many conversations as possible in a particular area, and pay for the real estate out of my exit strategy, or do some creative financing, or you know some things outside of the traditional investing method. And once you have your real estate education, nobody can take that away from you, right? For example, if I was a brand new real estate investor and I got an opportunity, just like I did, I think it was 2000 or 2022 or 2023. Anyway, we bought three properties from a seller. One of the properties was $95,000. Now that property could rent out for about $1,800 a month. So if I was approaching that as a consumer, then I'd have just put down my little $15,000 down payment, got a tenant in there, right? Maybe I could have got a lender to pay for the rehab, all right? Could have refinanced it. Property would have been cash flowing for, I probably would have made about maybe about $800 a month cash flow when it was all said and done, because it was a HOA, and and that was it. $800 a month is not going to change my quality of life very much. And then the capital that I had, I just deployed it. Now where am I at? Yeah, I got a property, but I'm done, right? Now, as a real estate investor, the way I approached that was we were able to talk the seller into seller financing that deal for us. So I gave the seller $1,000. Seller financed it, took ownership of the property, used 2 documents, promissory note, security instrument, mortgage agreement, had them registered, put a lien on the property in favor of the seller for the $94,000 that I owed. And then 6 months later, I did a cash out refinance for $113,000, paid off the seller, and I walked away with about $13,000. And then the following year, I sold the property for $199,000. So do you see the difference? So I made money out of the cash out refinance, and I was only in $1,000, right? And then made money off the sale. Now, if I didn't know how to do that, I would have just went the traditional way. So part of the reason why I say get your real estate education, because one, nobody can ever take that away from you. And plus, I'm talking about real estate investing education. I'm not talking about these programs where you start and then 6 months later you're done and you graduate. That's not what I'm talking about. You cannot become a seasoned real estate investor that way. And either they know that and don't care, or don't know that and there's a level of incompetence. So that last scenario, so basically I put $1,000 down on this $95,000 property. I took ownership of it, means it was deeded over to me. But in order to make the seller feel safe, I used a note and security instrument, registered it with the county. So I incorporated a seller financing component. So when we walked away from the closing table, I owned the property and that seller was listed as my lender. Now, this particular seller was moving out of the country. So I was trying to pay him what we agreed, but I couldn't locate it. He wouldn't respond, right? So finally he responded and was like, just pay me out in 6 months. So we had another 5 months, and then I just paid him out of the cash out refinance, right? So, and that's a very basic strategy. Like that's not something that it's not like something I invented in a lab and was like, I'm so genius. It's just it's just one of the tools we have in our tool belt. And that's what it was. So the reason, again, that I say focus on your real estate education is because that's what's going to get you through the dark times. What if interest rates go too high and you can't do any long-term holds because the cost of money is too high? What if one segment of the market takes a hit? You've got to go to another segment of the market. What happens if there's nothing available in your neighborhood or in your city that's worth investing in? You got to find another city to invest in. That's what I do. There's a lot of cities in this country. So when someone asks me, hey, what do you do when the market goes bad? I find another market. What are you doing when, come on up, Amy. What do you do when, things just don't work out in this one particular segment? I find another segment. So the more education you have, the more freedom you have to generate revenue in the world of real estate investing. How you doing? Master came up first. So Master, how you doing, brother? I don't often call another brother Master, but that was very clever. You gonna make us say it, huh?
Listen, master's given to your servants what is just and equal, knowing that you have a master in heaven. Amen.
Amen. Amen. What can I do for you, brother?
So I'm not your master. I'm your brother. You said it right.
Amen. Amen. Go ahead.
I came up accidentally, but nothing's by accident. I actually wanted to go over my mom. She had invited me here, Gospel Gwen, and she's into real estate. She's been in my whole life.
I know her. I know your mom. What's going on, man?
All right.
Your mom was good people. She's been supporting for a while. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, brother. She invited. I just wanted to find out about the 4 data points, and you had set a scenario that was really intriguing to me when it came to when you said the last one about when you put up the $1,000 and then you was able to get the financing to be able to pay the selling and end up ultimately having ownership.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
So did you
want me to go over that again?
Do you mind going over those 4 data points in that last scenario?
Yeah. So the 4 data points is just a tool that we use to rule out deals. So if I get a bunch of, I get people sending me stuff all the time. So I don't have time to do the full due diligence on every single property. So the 4 data points is 4 questions that we ask to determine whether a property is worth moving forward or not. So what does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? So that's week 1. We teach people. That's where I mentor 350 people, and I got to make sure that they don't get, confidence built up one day and then go out there and do something without me knowing. Because once you're in our real estate family, now your name is tied to my name. And if you out there and you're not, I take responsibility for your success. So if you're out there and you're, messing up and doing all this, our names are tied together now. So I can't have that happen. So the 4 data points is a tool that I give to all of my students on week 1, and we stay with it too. It's not something we teach and then move on. We stay with it. We apply it to every deal that we look at, and it serves multiple purposes. 1, it forces them to ask questions they may not have known to ask about. Right? It also helps them focus on what's important. It also removes the emotional component to real estate investing because the numbers aren't going to lie. Right? Now, the scenario that I went over, that last one that you're referring to, that's very, very basic. That's not really complicated strategy. So that's something that if one of my students came to me and didn't know how to do that, I would just teach them on the spot, and I would just guide them through it on the spot. All right. It wouldn't be, that's not something that's very, very complicated, but we always look to see how we can get the most for the least, because just because we have the money doesn't mean that we want to deploy it. Right. Because the more money that we have, we can save for contingencies and budget overruns and all of these other things to keep us safe. So if you've been following me for any amount of time, most of you guys know that there's people in our real estate family that are of a certain age. They can't do that risky stuff. I don't do risky stuff. Okay. There's enough things in the real estate investing world working against you. You don't need the extra risk. So the first thing we learned is, how do we protect ourselves? The 4 data points, those 4 questions help people protect themselves. So when you join our real estate family, that's just one tool in the toolbox. There's plenty of tools that are a lot more clever than that, but it's just a seller finance situation. Amen.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Amy, how you doing, sis?
I'm great, if I can find the unmute button. How are you, Odis? Oh, wait. First of all, why aren't you singing to me? Because I'm jealous. You sing to everybody but me. No, I'm just kidding.
You changed your picture, didn't you?
I did. I changed my picture.
I recognize that voice. What's up?
Oh, not much. I've been busy. So I'm Amy Palvido, a longtime real estate investor. I've been investing in real estate since 2008. And I am a founder of a real estate technology company. I am also the chairwoman of the U.S. PropTech Council, which is the trade association for the real estate technology industry in the U.S. So yeah, I like popping in Odis's room because, when I have a second and I could do the show, because he tells it like it is. I've done lots of seller finance deals, and you're right. That's a lot of people think that that's really creative, but that's pretty basic. I even bought a multi-family apartment complex seller finance. So
Yes.
yeah, you get people to think outside the box and how you're gonna, get the deal done. Seller financing is a great tool for sure for every investor, even if you're new, for sure. Great tool.
Amen. I think that's one of the funnest aspects of investing in real estate, is trying to make something out of nothing, right? And just recently, probably in the last year or so, I started teaching people how to put deals together that they're not directly involved in. Not syndication. I'm talking about with people that they already have a relationship with, how to set that up and maybe take an acquisition fee or write themselves into the deal. And I think that's the fun part of real estate investing for me, because that's what separates seasoned real estate investors from people that, from the TikTok real estate investors, the TikTok and Instagram investors.
Yeah, but the one thing that real estate investing taught me was you get more done through partnerships. You got to be very careful who you pick your partner and who your partners are.
Yes.
But you can get further faster by being willing to partner with somebody give up a little percentage of the deal here or there because they might know somebody that can bring in equity, or they might have a relationship with a great lender, or they might be a contractor, whatever it is, but partner, and you'll get in more deals, and your balance sheet will grow faster, and all those good things. It's kind of interesting. I wanted to ask you if you've seen any new technology or any sort of new technology that you're using, especially as it comes to seller financing. I know there's some new like PropTech/FinTech startups that are trying to introduce themselves in this area, but I just wanted to know if you knew of any others like to help, because I have a feeling there's going to be lots of real estate transactions that are going to have to be done creatively and
Yeah,
but I just wanted to know if you knew that.
I haven't, because I haven't really been looking. I've been so we're scaling up and we're growing, and now we're going through all the entrepreneurial growing pains of scaling up. So my eyes haven't really looked past my students. So yeah, I probably wouldn't be the best person to ask about new technology coming out, but you're right. I think the creative stuff is going to have more of a place now with the economy and the shift and it becoming more of a buyer's market. I think there's going to be a lot more opportunity, especially in the multifamily commercial industry. We got the silver wave. All the baby boomers are going into retirement. So those mom and pop apartment buildings are going. Amy, I'm going to put you on mute just 1 second because I'm getting a lot of wind from you. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of these, baby boomers, these old school mom and pops, they want to go into retirement. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. And you guys that have been following me for some time, I see some of my real estate family in the audience, that 10-unit apartment building is the scenario. You're going to start finding a lot more of that. And for those that don't know, the 10-unit apartment example is just an example that I give to illustrate how you can buy an apartment building and pay out of your exit strategy and not need all the capital that you normally would up front. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and we'll see what happens, right? I'm so conservative. Like I'm just very, very conservative. Like I think that comes from, if things go bad, I get so involved in, what my students are doing outside of just the course. I'm talking about in the real world, the practical application of this stuff. And there's every time I get involved, my liability goes through the roof, right? Because there could be something that goes wrong that's beyond my control, but my face is there. Everybody is looking for somebody to blame, right? Now, this hasn't happened to me, but there's always that risk of that. So I'm very, very conservative and very protective over, my real estate family. And with this economy shifting, with this seller's market cooling off and it's shifting into a buyer's market, you're going to start seeing a lot more opportunities for the creative stuff, because look, when it shifts to a buyer's market, that's eating up sellers' equity, right? And now they're going to have to start doing concessions and all of these other things. Now, it's amplified in certain markets over others, but it's still a thing that we have to contend with. And as a real estate investor, you've got to know how to navigate that. So when it's a seller's market, you got to know how to navigate that. When it's a buyer's market, you got to know how to navigate that. And there's going to be different financing strategies or different strategies, investing strategies as a whole, that you have to be able to pull out of your toolbox. So the more tools that you have, the more successful you are going to be. And that's why we focus on just giving you all the tools. Another advantage of teaching people that way is if you just teach, and I see this all the time, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, because there are a lot of cool courses out there that teach you how to do stuff. So when you hear me say I don't do courses, or a course isn't enough to turn you into a seasoned real estate investor, I do believe that. And the folks that run some of these courses, they'll also agree, right? If I'm selling a course on subject to financing, I'm going to teach you subject to financing, and that's it. And you'll learn subject to financing. Just knowing subject to financing doesn't make you a seasoned real estate investor. Just knowing seller financing doesn't make you a seasoned real estate investor. So I don't want it to sound like I'm throwing shade, but just understand what you're getting into when you guys look at some of these different. I'll take courses too. I take courses on all types of stuff, mostly business and entrepreneurial and some personal development stuff. So All right, now I feel like I'm rambling. All right, I'm gonna get back to it. Amy, feel free to chime in anytime you want. It's good to see you. And that's a sharp picture you got.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I'm driving, so sorry for the background noise. But
No, it's all good.
I agree. I think the small commercial multifamily space is a great space. It is also one that you just got to understand when you do get into it. I mean, it's to your point. I mean, it's underwritten differently. The loans are done differently. But you're gonna need to be pretty savvy with technology. I mean, if it's in your backyard, you can manage a 10 unit, no big deal. If you're finding something that maybe is 30 minutes away or an hour away, that becomes a pain if you're having to go there in the middle of the night and those things. So technology can really help you and kind of be a game changer for you from how you interact with your tenants, how you lease, how you maintain the properties and those kind of things. So on these smaller multifamily units, you don't have the ability. It doesn't sustain to have somebody sit on the property. It just can't afford it, right? I think the rule of thumb used to be 40 units, and now I think it's more like 70 units. You got to have 70 units before you can have a full-time manager, maybe a part-time maintenance guy. So if you're buying a 10 unit, you can't afford to have somebody sit there. So you're going to have to get really savvy with technology. But I will say, as you grow up and graduate you go to the next level in your real estate investing and you start buying bigger and bigger properties, knowing how to deploy technology will be a benefit to you because that just makes you more operationally efficient and you're just going to make more money. So I always think that's how we started. I started buying a bunch of single family homes and then I 1031 the profits from a 4 home sales into a 40 unit and that the owner seller financed me. Amen. And that's how I got my multifamily start. I mean, it's just, and then you kind of go from there. And even on my 40 unit, we didn't have the ability. I mean, we were there every day or every other day, but we couldn't afford a full-time maintenance person. And so way back in the day, it was just me and my husband, and we were out there fixing ACs and, turning units and all those good things. Thank goodness I had, construction experience. But yeah, I mean, that was what we did back in 2012. So yeah.
Yes, folks, she is absolutely right. And listen, and Amy, what's property management software do you use? You mentioned technology. What would you recommend?
For smaller units, there's a lot of options, right? There's ResMan, there's DoorLoop, there's Buildium, there's Appfolio. Appfolio is actually starting to get for more and more bigger units. Pick your poison. They all have like some great things, and they all suck at some things. Yeah. And I think you pick the one that does the most for you for the price point you think you can afford. You will still have to do add-on things to it, no matter who it is. They all don't do things the greatest. I will tell you that Appfolio, the accounting is horrible, and I switched from Appfolio just because the accounting was such a bear. Yeah. But ResMan's pretty good, but you're gonna have to have add-ons. So Buildium's okay, and DoorLoop's good. So it just kind of depends, right? So yeah,
Amen.
But yep, for sure.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And folks, when you start getting into multifamily commercial, when you start taking these courses, the acquisition and the underwriting is just one part of it. The operation side is a completely different part. And I'm going to go back to investing from a distance while you're working a 9 to 5 in just a second, but I want to touch on this. A lot of people don't understand how important the operation side is. I was overseeing 3,000 units at one time. $650 million in multifamily commercial assets. And the rule of thumb in that industry was one manager for every 100 units and one maintenance person for every 100 units. As an individual, I'm not buying 100-unit apartment buildings because once I get up to that level, you're competing with different types of investors that are very well capitalized. 0 to 50 is that's my sweet spot. And that's probably where I'm going to stay for the next 3 to 5 years. And then once the portfolio starts funding itself, then we'll likely scale up to some larger ones. But People don't understand when you get into multifamily commercial, you've got to have systems in place. You've got to have a system for an operating procedure for screening. You've got to have an operating procedure for managing service requests. You got to have an operating procedure for managing renewals, for your marketing, for your deposit accounting, right? For evictions, all of these things. And by the way, you folks in my real estate family, you know what guide is going to teach you all that. It's a landlord launchpad. So it's in the portal. You guys should all have it. If you don't have it, let me know. I'll make sure that I get it to you for the folks in the 4 Data Points Academy. So thank you for that, Amy. All right, so let's get back to the investing from a distance. Now, this is a scenario. I work a 9-to-5 job. I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm buying a property out in Georgia somewhere. Okay. First thing that I am going to do, and the first tool that I'm going to use to act as my eyes and ears for the property, since I can't be there, is going to be a home inspection. Okay. So let's assume we ran the 4 data points on this property. It passes muster. We're good to go. Okay. I put an offer in on the property. The offer gets accepted. As soon as that offer gets accepted, I got a home inspector out there. Now I'm going to actually, on whatever my day off is, I'm going to fly out there. Now, if I'm going to do a flip somewhere, I'll enlist the agent early. Yes, I'm a real estate broker. Yes, I can list my own property in Georgia, but I can't justify the time. So I will have an agent do it and have the agent be my boots on the ground. Now, if there is no agent, I will fly out there to set the property up. What do I mean by fly out there to set the property up? I'll go out there. I'm just putting a lockbox on it, right? Sometimes I'll set up Wi-Fi and so I can monitor and things like that. But I go out there and do that so I can give vendors access. Okay. Now, that would be what I do on my day off. Let's assume that I can't do that. Let's say I work 7 days a week, right? Then I'm definitely going to have an agent, not just to sell the property, but again, to act as my boots on the ground. They're going to give people access and all of the things, right? They're going to participate in, going and checking up on the property probably every week or whatever. All right. Now, I'm going to have my property inspection. What's up, Ant? I'm going to have my property inspection. That is going to show me everything I need to know about the property. And the main thing that I'm going to be concerned about is fixing the property up, my rehab. So that is going to require a detailed scope of work. Okay. Now, I'm going to take that. Now, there's probably pictures that I have that I'll take into consideration also, but pictures only tell you so much. And if somebody is selling you a property and they send you a bunch of pictures, they're not going to make a concerted effort to go down to the basement and find the mold and take a picture of it just to give you a heads up, right? So take it with a grain of salt. Now, I'm going to take that property inspection and I'm going to develop my scope of work. Now, a scope of work is an itemized list of everything that needs to be fixed and a price next to that line item. Okay. Now that I got my scope of work, now I can start, and we do this during the inspection period. Every time you put an offer in on the property, your contract, it's going to ask you, how long do you want your inspection period? Any software, whether it's eForms, Rocket Lawyer, any real estate contract worth its weight in salt is not even going to let you complete the contract without filling that in. So your inspection period is your due diligence period. Okay. During that due diligence period is when we're doing the property inspection. Off the property inspection, I can do my scope of work. And then I bid the job out to contractors based on my scope of work. This is important. Now I can still do this from a distance. All right. Now remember, if I can't get out there, I'll use an agent. If I could fly out there on my day off to set the property up, another time, maybe in another month to check on the property, and maybe another time to do a final walkthrough, right? If I can't do that, I'm going to use an agent to act as my eyes and ears. All right. So after I do my scope of work, I bid it out to contractors. I should already be looking for my contractors during this process. Now, during the inspection period, I'll typically do a 7 to 10 day inspection period. 14 calendar days, 10 calendar days. It depends on what state. Some states don't recognize business days, or they don't make the distinction. It's just days. All right. But I'll have an inspection period that gives me enough time to get my property inspection report back and I can analyze it. Now, if some things come up on the property inspection report that concern me and I need further investigation, then I'll get an extension on my inspection period if I'm out of the if that window is getting ready to close. But if it's cool and I already have an accurate assessment of the things that I'm going to have to fix, I'll go ahead and let the inspection period expire. And now I'm still in contract, and now it's time to move forward. And now I have a system or process in place to go from there. Okay. Now, a lot of people think that you being on the property and visiting and popping up is what's going to motivate the contractor. There's an element of truth to that. I motivate the contractors via the payment schedule. Okay. So, and we'll do it like this. And this requires a little bit of experience, but I try to guide my students the best I can. Most of the time I pay for my own materials. So I'm assuming most of the risk. Now, if the contractor is paying for materials, they're going to require more upfront as a deposit, which is, I agree with them 100%. They're assuming all the risk. They're buying all the materials. If I'm buying my own materials, my upfront deposit is going to be a lot less because I'm assuming all the risk. Now, let's say it's a $50,000 job. Most contractors will come in, they'll say, all right, we need 20% upfront. Some will say, okay, we need half up front and then half when we finish, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what they say, folks. You are the real estate investor. You determine the payment schedule. And if they're not on board with that, then you can find another contractor or have a meeting of the minds. A lot of another part of it is your relationship with that contractor. If it's a newer contractor, I'm a lot stricter. We're a lot tighter on negotiations, right? If it's a contractor I've worked with multiple times, I'm a little bit more laxed. So how do I manage the contractors through the payment schedule? That's all good, Trey. Trey, just reach out to me and we'll have a conversation today, right after this. Just make sure you send me your name and all that through that text number, 702-710-8030. So my payment schedule, I put less up front because I'm not going to pay a contractor for work they haven't done yet. But I also understand that they have workers that they have to pay. So I'm not stingy with it, right? So maybe I'll give them $5,000 up front. Okay. And that $5,000.
Unknown caller.
Sorry about that. All right. So that $5,000 up front is going to include a portion of the demo also. So I'm not just going to give them $5,000 up front and not expect anything. That's going to get them started. It's going to get them to work. It's going to get his guys moving. Now, again, I am paying for the materials. So I'm assuming more of the risk. So I'm going to make my contract and the payouts event driven, meaning my payment schedule is going to say, hey, look, here's $5,000 up front. When you, and I want you to start the demo. Once the demo's done, then maybe here's another $2,500. And then once you do this thing, maybe there's another $5,000. And then when you do this thing, there's another $5,000 or another $10,000 or another. And you have to be realistic, right? And this is where experience comes in. You can have a very strict payment schedule, not realizing that certain aspects of the rehab are more expensive than others. For example, you can make one of the benchmarks for a payout the demo. Well, that's relatively easy. It's just labor intensive. It doesn't cost the contractor as much to do that. Now, for something like electrical and plumbing, that's going to be more expensive. So I adjust my payment schedule based on those things. I'll give them a little more for that. But I'm not paying the contractor for work they haven't done yet. Why? We've all started a job before. You remember, even growing up, right? You ever start a job and then get there on that first day and you're like, hey, can I get that paycheck now? No, you ain't worked yet. So I always keep the contractors working for the next check. Okay. Now it's a little bit more nuanced than I'm explaining it, but again, that's why I'm there to guide my real estate family through the process. Now, as long as they're working for the next check, if something goes bad, I can fire them. If something goes bad, I can fire them. It's okay to be wrong in this business. Just don't be wrong long. And I'm not going to, and if I have to fire a contractor, then I'm not going to try to recoup money from them, right? I don't want to have to keep them because I already paid them. And I've been there, folks. I've made every mistake you can possibly imagine, right? So I get it. So the payment schedule is what keeps them coming to work. Now, in the beginning, my eyes and ears was the property inspection. So how am I going to approve of work from 2,500 miles away after they start working? FaceTime me. Period. FaceTime me. I can look at it, right? My eyes in that iPhone camera lens is pretty much same quality. Matter of fact, that iPhone camera lens is probably a little better quality at this age. So just FaceTime me. And in my contract, I have to approve the work before any payouts. Now, there's also a safety net there, because if I'm using the lender financing to pay for the rehab, they're going to send somebody out to inspect it also. So I'm protected there. So I don't have to physically be there. Okay. Now, at the end, maybe I'll go out there and do my final walkthrough, but I don't have to. If I'm selling the property, then I'll have the agent do the final walkthrough and make any notes, right? Anything that needs to be fixed, and get me on the phone if there's an issue. But what if I'm not selling the property? Well, if I'm going to keep the property, I'm going to have a property management company, which I would have enlisted early in the process. I'll have them do their checklist, and they can always FaceTime me if there's any issues. They can call me. All right. So you don't actually have to be there to be able to do this. Now, at least plan on going out there on your day off. Fly out there just to get familiar with everything, right? But one thing typically depends on another. Do I fly out there, or if I'm listing it, do I have the agent do it? If I'm keeping it, do I have the property management company do it? Right? If I don't know yet, I'm probably going to fly out there and put a lockbox up at least. You got to give people access. And I do that not just for homes that I'm flipping, but even homes that I'm managing. I'll have to go out there and turn the unit, right? But we can do that on our day off. We don't have to show up every other day to the project to make sure that things are going well, as long as you manage, right? As long as you manage the process that's outlined in your contract, right? And I teach how to do contracts. We have a whole week we spend on managing the rehab, right? It's overwhelming the first time. It could be overwhelming the second time, but with the proper guidance, you get comfortable really, really fast, right? A lot of the discussions that I have with my real estate family isn't about the mechanics of the real estate. It's talking them off the ledge, right? Because everything is a crisis, as it should be when you're new, right? And it's up to me to give them support and be able to talk them through it. And the folks that have one-on-ones with me, they got my personal cell phone. So if you got one-on-ones with me, that doesn't mean we just have scheduled one-on-one meetings every week. You have my personal cell phone. So if there's an emergency, you call me. If I don't pick up, you text. I'm walking out to take care of that issue, right? And I do that for quite a few people. So you can manage it from a distance. You just have to manage your payment schedule. You have to have the proper documentation in place. Well, what documentation? Contract, scope of work, payment schedule, insurance, W-9, lien release. Okay? You got to understand all the red flags that go along with, finding a contractor. I don't teach people how to be general contractors. I teach them how to manage them. Right? That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to take. What does it look like to be a part of your group? Good question, Brandon. What does it look like? I almost want you to ask people that are already in the group. So just to give you guys some insight, most of the people that are a part of our real estate family, they've been following me for some time, right? So I've already taught some things. Just like you guys are all listening to me now, I've been teaching this stuff online for about 4 years, right? And the reason I do that is because I feel like if you give away all the information and somebody goes out there and tries to do it, then they'll realize, dang, even with all the information, there is a lot that can go wrong here. And they appreciate the guidance. So I don't have to convince somebody about, hey, you need a mentor. Because obviously I'm going to look biased, right? I'm a mentor, I sell mentorship. So I don't like feeling that way. I don't like looking that way. So somebody comes in, we usually have a call, they sign up, we onboard them, right? All of our classes are virtual. All of our contact is virtual. Now, unless I got to fly out to one of your projects to put my foot on somebody's neck. So we have a schedule. It is in the evenings, 5 o'clock in the evenings. That's when the classes are. 90% of the classes are taught by me, and they will continue to be for as long as I can. I just feel more comfortable being the one to teach the classes. Monday nights, we have what we call a Monday Roundup. That's free time. I'll introduce a new lesson. Maybe I'll have a guest speaker come in, but I'll do a pulse check to see where everybody is, see if somebody needs some help, or if there's something that they're not really understanding, they want me to break down. Maybe something new happened in the market. Maybe some of the tax laws changed, or maybe the economy took a shift and they want to know how to navigate. So we address those on our Monday roundups. Tuesday evenings, we do residential real estate investing. Wednesday evenings, we do the same topic, residential real estate investing, for the people that couldn't make it Tuesday. Thursday evenings, we do multifamily commercial investing, right? And we do that over and over and over. And then once people have gone through 7-8 weeks of the fundamentals, then they get out there and do the stuff. And then we start having conversations about, okay, let's look at your situation and what it's going to take for you to be able to invest, given your situation right now at this moment. Now, the classes just start over. And with every new round, sometimes I'll add a new lesson. I'm doing lessons all the time. I got enough lessons to keep you behind a Zoom screen for 2 years. All right. But that's not the best use of people's times. We learn the fundamentals, which means we learn how to assess a deal. We learn how to manage a rehab project. We learn how to structure deals creatively. We learn all of the different financing options. We learn marketing. We learn how to find an off-market deal, and so on and so forth. All of our stuff is on our website, right? And then what I find is people will just keep coming to the classes over and over and over because there's always something new that they're going to be learning, and they can do that for as long as we exist. Now, let's say somebody signs up for our program in 3 weeks, life happens, they got to tap out. And then 2 years later, they come back and decide, I want to be a real estate investor again. We go ahead and bring them back like they never left, because we understand life happens. We understand you got to be flexible. We understand people got to survive first. People have families, and that's the way the world is. And we created that level of flexibility to service those types of situations to those people. And so far we've had, we get a really good response, and we kind of have an unfair advantage over other companies. So I don't really brag on our satisfaction level, but of course people are going to be satisfied, because if something's not working, we still got to look at you every 3, 4, 5 times a week. So we can't that would be very, very awkward if we sold you a dream and then you'd be cussing me out every week. Like, no. So if something's not working, then we navigate it, right? And then we'll change up. So we don't have, people aren't satisfied with the way we do things because we're perfect. They're satisfied because if something goes wrong, we address it and we fix it. Right? And we continue to do that. So we've got like 100 5-star reviews. If you go on Google, you can talk to people in our real estate family. My name, I have a really good reputation. You're not going to open up Instagram and see me on the news or some article like you see a lot of these other folks for embezzling or whatever the hell. So yeah, just reach out. I can get you guys information if you're interested in that. Brandon says, I've been trying to become an investor for about a year now with no prevail. A lot of scammers out there. I agree. There are a lot of scammers out there. And I've done classes and workshops on how to find a mentor, what questions to ask. All right. But that's the world we live in, right? There's going to be scammers in every industry. I don't know how they make money if continuing to scam people. Once you get found out, I would think the jig is up, right? Now you're done. You can't do anything. But I understand, Brandon, that's the world we live in, man. But again, you got to test their knowledge first. And if they are really trying to hold all the information to themselves, that's a red flag for me. And I tell people, look, people are going to be scamming till the end of time. Right. But you can only fake it for so long. Right. I teach what you guys would normally be paying for. I teach for free. So I think people are a lot more comfortable with me because of that. And some people know me really well at this point because I'm very transparent. Y'all know all my stuff. I'm very, very transparent. Y'all didn't see me cry on these live streams. I'm telling you, I have no problem with transparency. So, and plus, man, you got to be able to sleep at night, man. You can't treat people that way. And also, you guys on Clubhouse, this is for you guys. You guys have seen me given. All right, I'm not going to toot my own horn no more. So yeah, I feel you, Brandon. There's a lot of scammers out there, folks. Just make sure you know what questions to ask, and there should be a level of transparency. You should be able to go to a person's website and know everything that they're going to do for you. We post it on our website. A lot of other companies don't post it on their website because of what they charge. They don't want to scare people off. We're very transparent. We think we charge too little. We do. We charge too little. Keep in mind, you're with us for life. look at what we charge and prorate that for life, right? Because I'm a real estate investor first, and I use my actual real estate investing to supplement our program. So we don't, a lot of costs we don't pass on to customers because you only pay once, right? So anyway, all right, that is. Let me decline that. I don't know what this. People keep asking me to co-host rooms on TikTok for some reason. I don't know what that is. So yeah, so we try to take care of people, and I think that the better you treat people, because we don't market, and geez, why does this keep doing that? We don't market, so word of mouth is that's all we have, all right? I think we just started looking into paid ads like in the last 30 days or so because we're scaling up on a much higher level, right? We're bringing some other things to the forefront, and I'm bringing some other experts in to head up the entrepreneurial side of what we're doing and the personal development side of what we're doing. But yeah, word of mouth is all we have to go on. So if we're out there doing bad business, we're not going to last very long. All right. So that last illustration was how you can manage a project from a distance. Now, that's a residential flip or a long-term hold, right? You exit out of it, refinance, put a tenant in there. So we teach people how to set up all those systems. There's no guesswork, okay? And we stay until those systems are in place and they're working. And if they're not working, then we're still there to make sure that they do work. Once you start getting into multifamily commercial, it's a little bit different. I have to help people. I have to spend some more time underwriting those deals for people because no one's going to know what to do when they're first starting out. So with the multifamily commercial, the apartment buildings, many times I'll have to have the first conversation with the person selling the property. And we had one last year. Jamisha, some of you guys know Jamisha. She used to be on Clubhouse with us a lot. She may be she'll pop in and out. She had an opportunity and she didn't know how to take it down. It was I think it was either a 9 or a 14 unit. Let me say 9 units so I don't make myself into a liar. It was a 9 unit. She didn't know where to start. So I said, all right, well, just let's make the call together. And it was in some small town. It was only about $245,000. So I said, I'll just take the call and we'll just position ourselves as partners. All right. I would like to set up a call with you. Can we set something up for today? Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and text me your information to that number above my head, Brandon, 702-710-8030. Make sure you go to my website, 4datapoints.com. You can also go to that meetodis.com up at the top, and it'll take you to my website and everything else I have going on, just in preparation for our call. So what happened with Jamisha, I said, I'll just take the lead on the call. And we were on that call for probably about 40 minutes. By the time we got off that call, the price was no longer $245,000. The price was $141,000, I believe, for that situation. And what it was a residential agent or like a wholesaler or somebody in that capacity that had a relationship with the family. And I was just drilling them because they didn't have the experience in multifamily commercial. And I was very, very polite and respectful. And I understand that this man is going to have to go back to his sellers. So I was trying to kind of explain my reasoning for everything that I was talking about on that conversation. Finally, he was just, it's bad when they just tap out and they're like, look, man, this ain't even really my thing, right? Like, multifamily commercial ain't really my thing, right? Like it got to that point. I felt bad for dude, but I couldn't expect Jamisha to be able to do that on her own. So sometimes, and again, that's part of the reason we call it a real estate family. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to have to do, but I'll just jump in and do whatever that thing is, whether it's taking a call with somebody or whether it is just doing a contract for somebody or reviewing a contract and adding some language to protect them, or depending on the level of support you have, I may have to fly out. I had one student where the contractor was just slow and lacked accountability, and it took like 8 months longer than it should have, and everything was going bad, and I had to jump on a plane and go out there because we had looked at that contractor's work before, and it was really, really good. So that's why we wanted that contract. It was just a mess after a mess, and then my student was stressed out, and it was just a major issue. So I got on a plane, and the saving grace was what's up, Jay? The saving grace was the contractor finally finished, and the property is absolutely beautiful. So that but I never know. We never know what we're going to have to do. That's why real estate family is not something we just put on a t-shirt. We treat it like family, right? These folks that have been rocking with me know me personally, right? I'm very, very transparent with people. I don't just post the highlights. If something goes bad for me, we'll have a meeting. I'll make it into an internal workshop and be like, hey, this is how this got messed up, so that they can learn from it so it doesn't happen to them. And, companies can't afford to do that. It costs them too much to have that level of support. They're businesses. Businesses exist to generate revenue. It hurts their bottom line. It shatters their bottom line offering that much support. I don't care, because I have a long-term vision for what it is that we're trying to do. Right. I mentor 350 people right now. That's going to go up to, we're trying to get that up to 1,000 eventually. That's a scale up conversation. But I want to do everything internally. I want to educate people internally. I want to be able to finance deals internally. I want to be able to source deals internally. I want to be able to have a property management company internally. All of these things, I don't want to have to go out for anybody. I've got the experience to be able to put it together. So we're going through the growing pains right now, and it costs us a little more to do all of this and offer this much support right now. But imagine a group, 4 Data Points Academy, imagine a group that doesn't have to go outside the group for anything. That's what I wanted to get. So I have a long-term vision, and I'm willing to sacrifice profits, right? Our margins are really, really slim. I'm willing to sacrifice that to build those relationships and nurture those relationships so we know, like, and trust each other, so that so it doesn't matter what the economy does, because we can create our own economy within the group. That's the long-term vision. And then we're getting in also into personal development and entrepreneurship, and I'm bringing people in to lead those. What's up, Tamara? I see you on TikTok. All right. So all the things, right? We're doing all the things. If you guys are interested in mentorship, go to our website, 4 datapoints.com. You know exactly what you're going to get. Matter of fact, on the website, that's the minimum of what you're going to get, because we do a lot more than that. We can't put everything on the website, but we do a lot more than that. But the goal is to make sure that people are successful. And it's not just teaching them how to do real estate and saying, go be great, good luck. It is keeping them in the family and nurturing that growth until they no longer need us. That's my goal, for you to no longer need me. Then we can just associate as two seasoned investors, and we can go build some stuff and do some cool stuff, and maybe go into some communities and create some opportunities for people in some of these communities, and the whole nine, right? All right, folks, I've been listening to myself talk. That number, I'll put it in the chat, is 702-710-8030. You can text that number. It'll come to my desk. I can set up a call with you. Folks, please go to our website first. A lot of the questions can be answered on our website, right? Our entry level is $5,999. If that's too much for you, then maybe not get into real estate investing right now, right? Because you don't want to put too much of a financial strain on yourself to be able to do that. Okay. Again, transparency, honesty, integrity. That's our staple. All right. I think we're going to end it. in a little bit. I got to go have a talk to my daughter. Told her to do something, and she just ignored me. I was like, oh, you too comfortable up here. All right. So you folks on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, I'm going to tap out with you guys. I'm going to keep TikTok up. I'm going to keep Clubhouse open. I'm going to go back and review to make sure I didn't miss any questions, but I don't want